Hello everyone, this is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. Well, this episode is more like the Comics Degenerate, because I'm going back and forth between the two titles. I don't know which one I'm going to eventually name this stream. But right now what I'm doing is I am going through my read pile for the last week or two. What happens is every single time that I go through various things, I have a stack of books just sitting next to my bed, and I read for an hour usually before I go to sleep. And these are going to be the books that I've read in the last period, probably about a week and a half. This is two of the books so far. This is Maxwell's Demon and Unity by Valiant. This is by Volt, Maxwell's Demons. This is Deniz Camp, Victoria Stone, Aditya Bidakar, Matt Kint, Joshua Dessert, Cafu, Carrie Nord, and Robert Gill for Unity. Now let's go through Maxwell's Demons first. This one's more along the line of an indie book. This is what I would consider more along the lines of a true indie creator who just hooked up with a publisher, put out his book. The artwork is good. It's solid. It's the artist looks to me like he's still developing, but he has a good style, has a good sense of storytelling. It looks like he's going in the right direction. I think in a year or two the guy's going to probably be phenomenal. I mean, he's really good now, so I can only imagine as he develops and as he tightens up how much better he's going to be. The story takes place throughout Maxwell's life, and it jumps around quite a bit from one point to another point to another point. It's interesting. It's probably something I may have to touch back on. I probably read it a little too quickly. But for me, it was interesting. I don't know if there'll be any more volumes of this. This may be just a one-shot. That's just the way it looks to me. But it was interesting. I don't know if I can give it a full recommendation. But if you want to read something that's a little weird, you can try this out. All right, the next book I have here is Unity. This is written by Matt Kint, done by various artists. One of the stories in here is written by Joshua Dessert, Dessart. And Unity was supposed to be the core group from Valiant. This has Exo Manowar, Ninjak, or Ninja K, depending on how you look at it, the Eternal Warrior. In this one, they had recruited Faith. They have another character in there. She's actually the team leader. And it didn't last. I mean, there's 7 volumes, so I guess it lasts about 30-something issues. Matt Kint, I believe, wrote the whole thing. I just recently got a hold of... this is volume 4. So I recently got a hold of 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I'm reading through them as I go through it. It was nominated for a Harvey Award. Not that surprising. Like I said, Matt Kint is an excellent writer. I really do think that he's perhaps one of the better, if not the best superhero writer, not working at one of the big two. And by the looks of it, he's not even working at Valiant anymore, which is a shame. But good stuff. I really enjoy it. So let's move on. Two more books. And this is the reason I say it's not indie comics explained, because more comics degenerate, because in this, when I do these, I won't just be covering indie comics. I do read a lot of indie comics. I try to read as many as I can. But I also read some mainstream books. I do read stuff from Marvel. I do read stuff from DC. I tend to be a bit more picky when it comes down to that. I tend to try to stick with stuff that's been vetted quite heavily. So that's usually where I'm at with that. Now, Fearscape, this is also by Volt, is what I would consider like a real indie type of book. The artwork is good. It's a little rough, but it's very interesting looking. Again, this is a guy. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, Sullivan, Muddy, Popoff, and Endworld. So let's see, Ryan O'Sullivan, Andrew Moody, Vladimir Popov as the colorist, and World Design as the lettering. Okay, so, but Oh, there's Andrea Moody. Excuse me. So, Andrea is, her work is actually very nice. I mean, I like it. Like I said, it's a little rough. I mean, this is the type of artist that I've seen before, where if she continues in a year or two, she's just going to be incredible. She's already incredible now. So I can, like I said, with the other artists, in a year or two, this person's going to be incredible. I mean, just unstoppable. They just have to just keep on going. Just keep practicing, keep working. I've always felt, as a writer who's worked with quite a number of artists, that I think comic books is the truest testing ground of any artist. If you want to give an artist something, a way to improve, you have them do comics, because there's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of different things you got to come up with. I mean, sometimes I know when I give my artist stuff, I ask them for the weirdest things, and 9 times out of 10, they more like 99 times out of 100, they come up with fantastic, incredible solutions to the questions that I posed to them. So it's always interesting to see what an artist will do for, what surprises an artist will come up with. This particular story was a little weird. It's based on this character. He's a bit of a mess. He's not a good guy. He's a thief, a reprobate. The guy's just terrible. And it's written from his perspective. And it's kind of interesting, because when I first read it, I was just like, what the hell is kind of going on here? I thought it was interesting the way it's written, because he gives you I guess a false narrator, or an untrustworthy narrator is telling the story, and that's him from his perspective. And he's also telling it in a very odd, very formal, old-timey, I wouldn't say Shakespearean, but it's definitely early or late 1800s type of written style. Something like you might want to expect maybe from Bram Stoker, that sort of thing. It's just a little funny the way it's written, but it is interesting, and I thought it was just funny the way the writer chose to write it, because I thought that was an interesting choice the way what he made. All right, so the next book we got here is Imaginary Fiends. This is DC Vertigo. Tim Seeley, Stephen Molnar, and Quentin Winters. So those are the 3 creators. I've never read anything from Tim Seeley. I've heard a lot of good things. Hack and Slash, I believe, is his big thing. Like I said, I've never read anything of his before. I said, well, let me give this a punt. It wasn't that expensive. So I was like, okay, let me try it. And sometimes that's how it is with me. If I can find it on available from my carrier, and it's at a good price, I say, hey, I can spend a few bucks, try it out. I also like the cover. I love this character's face, and the artwork in here is actually quite good. This is what you would expect from DC Vertigo. I mean, it is very good. It's not as stylized maybe as we've seen in some Vertigo books, but it is good. There's some very strange things going on. It's about these entities that are considered leeches. They attach themselves to children. They're entities from other dimensions, and they feed on children's fears and their hopes, and they develop into these creatures, and they can do things that when they get powerful enough, they can affect reality. And usually children just see them as like, their bedtime friends or whatever, that sort of thing. The monster underneath the bed, that sort of thing. It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Vertigo was DC put the kibosh on it, so that's gone. I think this one book is one book. I believe it's 6 issues, and it's a one story all in one. I found it to be very interesting. I liked it. It's a shame there probably we'll never see another one ever again. But I enjoyed it for what it was. So that's that. If you can find the book cheap, and you enjoy a good horror comic, I think this might be something you would enjoy. And then the next 2 books we have is The Dreaming, from the mind of Neil Gaiman, as Simon Spurrier, Bill Quesavely, Matt Lopes, and this is Spook House 2. Spook House 2 I already covered, so I'm not gonna say too much about it. Other than that, it's a definite recommend. I really enjoyed it. You know, this book is just a lot of fun. So we will just skip on over to The Dreaming. This is volume 1, and this is I guess the Neil Gaiman branch of DC Comics. Yes, but I think like 4 or 5 of them. I think they just recently announced that Hellblazer is going to be joining this area or this series of books, which is cool. I know they have Joe Hill coming, and he's also going to be doing something similar. I kind of like it because Simon Spurrier is actually a very good writer, and I'm really hoping that the series is curated by Neil. He's not just allowing. I don't think he's allowing the writers to just do their own thing. Like he's like, you know, like they're submitting the stuff, he's reading it, he's putting his name on it, so he has to obviously trust them. I think they're all handpicked by him. And you know, so far so good. I've read a couple of these already. Well, a couple of these stories. And if you remember anything about Sandman and The Dreaming, there's something similar going on in that Sandman has disappeared, or the Morpheus has disappeared from The Dreaming. He's given up his post, he's gone, and his minions who are in Dreaming, who are left behind, have to cope. They have to try to keep The Dreaming running and just continue on. There's, you know, a number of interesting characters. This beginning story is, I think, just an overall one. I've seen this one. I read Lucifer just a little while ago and had the same issue in front of it. So I guess it was just an introduction to all of the various books. It goes in the front. But we have all these various characters. We have some cool... This is a Jay Lee cover, which I thought was really nice. But the interior art is very good. I mean, I like it. It's very quirky. This guy is, you know, really, really nice. Bill Quest Everly. Very nice style. I really enjoy it. And, you know, it has some good stuff. I mean, if you enjoyed something like Sandman, if you enjoy that sort of story, you know, fantasy based, you know, I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, I really dug this. I'm looking forward to the second volume. And then by the looks of it, there's going to be one, and hopefully it'll be running for a little while, at least to the conclusion that Simon Spurrier wants to bring it to, because that's ultimately what I hope, is that he's able to tell the story in its entirety. Now, last but not least, is Thanos by Donny Cates, Jeff Shaw, Dylan Burnett, and Antonio Fabela. Now, I don't buy a lot of stuff from Marvel. I basically pick up what the stuff that Jason Aaron is doing. I collect for in volumes like this. This was a hardcover, so this is how I tend to buy them. Jonathan Hickman just returned to do X-Men. I'll probably be picking up those in the same format. Al Ewing is currently doing The Hulk. And now, I've never read any of those books, but they come highly suggested, so I'm going to pick that up. I picked up the Donny Cates stuff because also a lot of people suggested them. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. It's not a cheap book, but, you know, it comes in a format I really enjoy. And in this story, we have Thanos, and we're also introduced to Cosmic Ghost Rider, and how he's working for Thanos, an elder Thanos at the end of time, and who's basically is a Thanos that's basically won it all. He's destroyed all his enemies. He's beaten up and murdered just about everyone there is to beat up and murder. One of the last heroes surviving is Silver Surfer. The elder Thanos had Cosmic Ghost Rider go back in time and bring back his younger self, so to help him defeat the Silver Surfer. It's a lot of fun stuff. I mean, and all of this so he can woo Death. Yeah. I mean, that part of the story, I was like, okay, well, I guess if you want to have a girlfriend, I guess, you know, why not have it be the lady who we all succumb to at some point. There comes a point where they do some goof stories in here. But ultimately, it's a lot of fun. Especially the stuff with Cosmic Ghost Rider is interesting. He eventually goes back in time and takes baby Thanos from his mother, and there's all this other craziness goes on. I mean, I have to be honest with you. I mean, I read what Danny Cates wrote in the back, and yes, or Donny Cates, excuse me, what he'd written in the back as to how the project came about. And I mean, it seems like he just said, yeah, let me just do the craziest thing that I can do, and the editors just let him do it, and God bless him for it. It's a funny story. It's a lot of fun. You know, if you have it in you, if you enjoy Marvel Comics, I would suggest this. This was a lot of fun, and that's basically, for me, some high praise. I mean, it was fun, and I can't suggest it more than that. Anything that I consider to be this level of fun, it was funny, it was entertaining. I consider it almost a parody on what we see at the Marvel Comics. I don't think in Jim Shooter's heyday, I don't think he would have ever allowed anything like this. I think it was just a little too off the wall. It's a little too crazy. You know, it's a little too absolute. You know, but, you know, I look at it like this. I mean, the stuff they're doing is very malleable. They can do whatever pretty much what they want. I think that's the way Donnie treated it. He was just like, well, you know, let me just have as much fun as I can have with it. Especially with Cosmic Ghost Rider, because Cosmic Ghost Rider is Frank Castle, and that's the Punisher, and it's hilarious because he's out of his mind, he's loopy and nuts. He's been Cosmic Ghost Rider for a few million years, and he's just lost his mind. He's just not normal on any level. He talks to himself most of the time, makes goofy jokes, doesn't act anything like what we would know Frank Castle to be. And I guess this is what someone who's spent, you know, several 100,000 years by themselves, because he ended up being marooned on Earth all by himself. The planet was dead. Thanos had destroyed everything. Everything was gone. And he was just like riding around the planet for a few 100,000 years with nothing to do. And so he just obviously lost his mind. Eventually he gets picked up by Galactus, and he becomes Galactus' herald, and he gets infused with all this cosmic energy, like any of his other heralds, and they try to hunt down Thanos. And like I said, there's just a lot of fun involved. I just really enjoyed it. I would definitely suggest this one. I don't know if it ends at a point where it looks like there's more to come. I don't know if he continued the series or if he just set it up to leave it off for another writer to pick up. I haven't really looked. I'm just when it comes down to this sort of thing, I'm just very patient. I'm willing to wait. You know, these things usually only come out annually. I know Jason Aaron's, it sometimes feels like his Thors, they come out like once every year and a half or whatever. And they come out when they come out. You know, I just buy them, you know, I just order them. And I pick them up when they come out. And that's it for today. I've been gone for the last couple of days. I have a day job like most people, and sometimes it keeps me away. So thank you so much. If you want to read some of my work, I'm working on the Oswald Chronicles. You can see it on the screen. I also work on Tall Tales Online, which is my other title, which I do with the incredible Daphne Lage. The incredible, the Oswald Chronicles is done by Jade Gonzalez. She's the illustrator. I'm the writer. And she's also incredible. So thank you so much. If you like this video, please share, subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff. And thank you, and have a good night.